Discover the heartwarming moment. I walked in 3 months later, revealing my amazing transformation. Everything changed when that pink slip came. Jake stood there, stunned. In the factory he had poured his soul into for over a decade. It felt like the ground had opened up beneath him. Alone in his modest home that evening, he listened to the sound of silence. Lily in her room, distracted by her crayons and paper. They'd barely scraped by on his paycheck. But now the world felt impossibly heavy. Just 8 years old, Lily still had that spark of imagination. She painted bright, hopeful worlds, somewhere free of worries, where love triumphed over hardship. But during a heated argument about money, he'd seen it hurt in her eyes that cut deeper than he ever thought possible. As he lay awake that night, the memory of his father flashed through his mind. A decorated veteran, he'd fought through life with resilience and strength. Jake knew he had to reclaim their lives, not just for himself but for Lily too. And so began the journey. Over the next 3 months, Jake dove into training, sculpting his body and soul. Every drop of sweat wasn't just exercise. It was a testament to his commitment. Mornings turned into grueling routines, pushing the limits of his physical strength. But he also took a job at a nearby farm. The sunshine on his back felt liberating. He found community there, people who understood the struggle, who shared laughs alongside that bitter taste of life's pressures. Still, the more his body changed, the more distant he felt from Lily. She began spending afternoons alone while he trained or worked. It was for them, he told himself, but deep down he sensed the chasm yawning wider between them. The annual town festival buzzed around him. Everyone was excited, yet Jake's heart ached. How had he come this far without checking in on his sweet daughter? Then came the fateful day. A misunderstanding turned into an emotional explosion, leaving Lily with tears streaming down her cheeks. "You're not you anymore, Dad," she cried. Those words echoed in his mind, twisting like a knife. Had he really lost sight of who he was? The festival day arrived, and Jake stepped into the limelight, ready to share his journey. He had arrived, transformed in every sense, physically, emotionally. The crowd erupted in applause as he shared not just his triumph but his failures as a dad. As his heart raced, he scanned the crowd for Lily. He spotted her holding a piece of artwork, vivid colors telling their story of struggle. In that moment he felt pride clash with fear. Confusion flickered in her bright eyes, and he realized she might not see the father he was striving to be, but instead a stranger. Could he mend what had been broken? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the applause faded, Jake understood that the hardest challenge was still ahead. Weaving back together their frayed bond. Would she accept his apology? Would they heal from the scars left behind? The air buzzed with laughter and cheer, but for Jake, it felt like he had just stepped into an empty void. Would their story end here, or could they find a way forward together? The moment Jake left the stage, the jubilant chatter of the festival seemed to fade into a distant roar. He felt a knot twisting in his stomach as he searched for Lily among the throng of excited festival-goers. Each delighted laugh felt like a reminder of the laughter he had so easily taken for granted. Where could she have gone? The sun hung high in the clear sky, casting a warm glow over the vibrant tents and stalls. Children dashed past him, their arms laden with cotton candy and brightly colored balloons. Yet, for Jake, the world had dulled. He stepped aside, catching his breath, trying to center himself. He had come so far, but now the distance between him and his daughter felt insurmountable. He spotted a path leading to the nearby park, its grassy expanse lying under the shade of swaying trees. He hesitated for a moment before walking toward it, clenching his fists as he trudged along. "Lily," he called softly, hoping she could hear him over the distant laughter and festive music. The edge of the park, Near the wooden swings, he found her. She was sitting quietly, her legs swinging back and forth, her once animated expression now weighed down with worry. Clutching the artwork he had seen earlier, she seemed lost in thought, staring at the ground as if the vibrant colors were fading right in front of her. Jake's heart sank. He approached slowly, each step heavy with uncertainty. "Hey kiddo," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. The last thing he wanted was to spook her. "Can we talk?" Lily didn't look up. The silence weighed heavily between them, and Jake felt a wave of guilt crashing over him. "I'm sorry for everything," he started, his voice almost breaking. "I know things have changed between us. I've been so focused on I don't even know what, but I lost sight of what's important. And that's you." Still, she said nothing. He crouched down to her level, forcing her to meet his gaze. When she finally looked up, her eyes glistened with unshed tears. "You're not the same," she said softly, her words slicing through him. "You're always gone. I miss you, the real you." The confession hung in the air, raw and painful. Jake felt tears prick his own eyes as he swallowed the lump in his throat. "I miss you too," he admitted. "Being strong doesn't mean I can forget what's right in front of me. I don't want to be just some guy who lifts weights. I want to be your dad again, the dad who makes you laugh, who takes you to the park and listens to your stories. I just got lost somewhere along the way." Lily's expression softened a fraction, her guard faltering as she clutched her artwork closer. "But you were gone for so long," she whispered. "What if I lose you again?" Jake reached out, taking her small hand in his. He felt the warmth touch of her fingers and it tethered him to the moment. "I promise," he said firmly. "I'm here now, and I'm not going anywhere unless you want me to." A small smile danced on her lips, tentative but there. "Want to go get some ice cream?" he suggested suddenly. "You can pick the flavor, any flavor, and I'll even let you have extra sprinkles." At this, she giggled, pure delight lighting up her face. He knew that spark, the one he would do anything to keep alive. As they began to walk towards the ice cream stand, an unexpected wave of hope washed over him. There was work to be done, conversations to be had, but here, in this moment, they had taken the first step together. But as they danced through the crowd, laughter slowly bubbling up between them, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that shadows still loomed ahead. Would this be enough? Could they truly bridge the gap that had formed? The festival lights glittered bright above them, yet an uneasy question lingered in his heart. Would the magic of this day last? Or was it just a fleeting moment? As they approached the bustling ice cream stand, the laughter and music of the festival wrapped around them like a warm blanket. The overwhelming smells of waffle cones and sprinkles hung in the air, and Jake felt his heart lighten a little more with every step. He glanced at Lily, her eyes wide with excitement as she watched the ice cream scooper at work, her previous worries momentarily forgotten. "What flavor are you thinking?" he asked, trying to coax out her laughter again, totally absorbed in the small joys that echoed around them. "Cotton candy," she exclaimed, her face lighting up as she beamed up at him. "And can I have rainbow sprinkles too?" "Absolutely," Jake replied, happy to indulge her whims. She was so precious, so full of life, and he couldn't help but wish he had cherished these moments more. When they got to the front of the line, he ordered her cotton candy ice cream with an extra scoop, followed by a generous helping of sprinkles. As the vendor handed over the colorful creation, Jake could hardly contain his joy watching Lily's face through the translucent cup filled with swirls of pink and blue. "Look at it. It's beautiful." For the first time that day, Lily's eyes sparkled, and Jake felt a rush of relief flood over him as they walked away from the stand. Lily skipped ahead, her little feet barely touching the ground. She turned to him every few seconds, her smile infectious, and he couldn't hold back the laughter that bubbled up, his spirits lifting with hers. Then, as they rounded a corner, the music slowed and softened, replaced by a soothing rhythm that sounded like something magical was about to happen. They approached a group of performers dressed in bright colors, juggling and dancing in tandem, drawing a crowd of awed children. "Can we stay and watch, please?" Lily bounced on her toes, her eyes glued to the spectacle. "Of course," Jake said, feeling her excitement wash over him as he settled beside her on the grass. Being there, with her tiny hand warm in his, it felt right. Felt like home. After the performance ended, they clapped together, and Lily squealed, "Did you see that guy? He spun around like a whirlwind." "Yes, he was amazing," Jake responded, struck by the way her excitement allowed him to forget the weight of regret for a while. As the sun began to set, casting oranges and pinks through the sky, Jake's heart swelled with gratitude. He knew this moment wouldn't erase the past, couldn't erase it, but it was a reminder of what he had to fight for. Together, they moved again, savoring the ice cream, Lily chattering briskly about the crowd responses and her plans for the next festival. He allowed himself to bask in her joy, capturing every detail, the way her eyes sparkled, the warmth of her laughter, and the sweetness of her innocence. Yet, underneath the surface of this cherished moment, worry echoed in his mind. What obstacles awaited them beyond today? Their hearts crafted this connection, but would it be enough against the storms that lay ahead? Jake swallowed hard, feeling the familiar knot in his stomach return. Just then, he noticed a movement in the crowd, a figure he recognized, holding a camera, peering through the lens right at them. Could it really be? "Jake, look," Lily pointed excitedly, but his focus sharpened on the person taking photographs of them, which kindled sparks of anxiety in him. What would that mean for their fragile bond? As the festival lights dimmed and the stars twinkled above, Jake felt the undeniable pull of an oncoming storm, unsure if he had the strength to weather it. With every festival cheer fading into the night, he braced himself for another challenge on the horizon. Jake's heart raced as he scanned the crowd, the familiar figure still lurking there with the camera. Whoever it was, they seemed intent on capturing every moment, every fleeting smile between him and Lily. A knot tightened in his gut, twisting his joy into something uneasy. Why now? Why here? "Jake, do you think they'll take our picture? It would be so cool." Lily's innocent excitement echoed, oblivious to the storm gathering inside him. He forced a smile, wanting desperately to protect her from the uncertainty gnawing at his heart. "Yeah, maybe," he replied, trying to sound cheerful. "Just promises make a good picture, right?" He scratched his head, searching for a way to divert her attention before the tension took root. "Let us get a picture then," Lily exclaimed, tugging at his hand. "Please, I wanted to remember this day." It was hard to resist her. Her happiness was radiating like the fading sunlight, and he didn't want to dim it. He sighed. "All right, let us take a selfie." He pulled out his phone, crouching down next to her. They both grinned wide, the smell of cotton candy lingering as sweetly as their laughter. Just as he raised the phone to snap the picture, the camera clicked from the other side. Jake's heart sank. It was clear that the stranger wasn't just focused on capturing a moment for remembrance. They were documenting something much bigger. "Jake?" Lily's voice trembled slightly, catching the tension in his expression. As he turned back to her, he felt the edge of panic wash over him, eclipsing their moment. She tilted her head to the side, brow furrowed. "Are you okay?" "Yeah. Just let us keep walking," he urged, his voice stilted as he resisted the urge to look back at the figure. He tried to lead her away, back into the swirling crowd. Everything felt surreal, like he was walking through a fog. They moved past booths displaying colorful crafts and handmade trinkets, Lily still animatedly describing every detail to him, but the words faded into background noise. The happy ambience of the festival began to feel stifling, the air thick with questions. Who was this person? Why were they taking photos? The shadows of his past loomed heavy over him. He needed to keep Lily safe, to shield her from whatever repercussions this might unleash. They stumbled upon a small fountain, its water glistening under the festival lights. Lily's eyes sparkled as she darted forward. "Can we toss in a coin? I want to make a wish." His heart pounded. Those innocent wishes were normally simple, but he felt the weight of hidden truths threatening to crush the fragile bubble around them. "Sure, let us do it," he managed, his mind racing with turmoil. Lily dug into her pocket, her small fingers wrapping around a quarter. She stood up on her tiptoes, staring intently at the coins resting in the water. "I wish," she whispered, her eyes bright with hope. Jake held his breath, silently wishing for the same magic she embraced. He hoped for a life free of fears, for days filled with laughter instead of shadows. But as she tossed the coin in, the splash of water felt like a drop of cold reality crashing down. "What did you wish for?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper, curious if she had sensed the heaviness lingering between them. "I can't tell you. It won't come true," she giggled, sensing his seriousness. "But it's a good one. You'll see." Her laughter rang sweetly, a fleeting song amidst the uncertainty. For a moment, he let himself believe in her innocence. Maybe their bond could withstand whatever storm loomed on the horizon. But just then, the figure with the camera emerged from the throng of festival goers. Their eyes locked on Jake again. The intense gaze sent chills down his spine. Would his past follow him here? Was it too late to guard their sparkle? As the realization struck, he felt like he was balancing on a precipice, unsure which way to fall. With Lily bouncing beside him, their moment hung in the air, charged with his unspoken fears. He knew deep down that they were on the cusp of a whirlwind, but would he have the courage to face it? The air was thick with unanswered questions and an impending dread that clung to him like a shadow, leaving him wondering if magic could truly exist in the midst of their unplanned chaos. What would happen if the truth came to light? Would their world shatter? Jake's mind raced as he locked eyes with the figure. The look in the stranger's eyes felt piercing, like they could see right through him. Anxiety gripped him, cold and hard, and he fought to control his breathing. It didn't matter who this person was or what they wanted. What mattered was Lily. He had to protect her. "Hey, let us get some ice cream," he suggested, forcing false enthusiasm into his voice. He grabbed her hand a bit tighter, hoping the warmth of his grip would distract her from any lingering questions. "Oh yes, chocolate chip cookie dough, please," Lily squealed, her eyes lighting up with delight as they moved away from the fountain. Jake couldn't help but glance back. The figure had started to follow them, moving through the crowd with alarming ease. Jake picked up his pace. The laughter and chatter of the festival faded into a distant hum, consumed by the pounding in his chest. The ice cream stand stood ahead like a bright beacon. "One scoop of your favorite ice cream coming right up," he said, forcing a smile to hide the knots in his stomach. Lily danced in place, clearly entranced by the visuals of the vibrant flavors. "Can I get sprinkles?" she pleaded, her voice full of joy. "Of course," he replied, trying to sound calm, even as the figure was now closer, lurking just outside the stand. "2 cones, 1 chocolate chip cookie dough with sprinkles, and 1 vanilla with a drizzle of caramel, please," Jake ordered, gripping the edge of the counter like it was a lifeline. As they received their cones, Jake caught another glimpse of the figure. They weren't just taking photos anymore. He felt a chill creep up his spine as he realized the camera wasn't just for the festival. Were they watching his every move? The thought made him dizzy. "Let us go sit over there." Lily pointed toward a picnic table shaded by twinkling lights. Jake nodded, but his heart wasn't in it. Instead, every part of him was focused on the stranger now slipping into the throng of festival goers. Lily settled into the wooden seat, her cone held high like a trophy. "Cheers," she said, grinning brightly. Jake clinked his cone against hers, his heart breaking at the sight of her smile. "Yum," Lily squealed, taking a big lick. "This is the best day ever." He watched her, the way her eyes sparkled, and for a moment, the weight of the world lifted. But then the figure emerged again, standing just a few feet away, their attention solely on Jake and Lily. "Hey, are you okay?" Lily asked, noticing the way he tensed. "I just need to check something," he said quickly, rising from the table. "Stay here, okay? I'll be right back." Before she could protest, he turned and strode towards the stranger, adrenaline pumping through his veins. "What do you want?" he demanded, a mix of fear and anger fueling his voice. The figure raised the camera, but instead of clicking, they lowered it and looked directly into his eyes. "Jake." "It's me," the stranger said, their voice familiar yet distorted by the unfamiliar context. "We need to talk. It's important." His heart raced. The world around him blurred, drowning out the joyous festival vibes. He felt like he was living in a nightmare. Everything he tried to escape was right there in front of him. "Stay away from her," he warned, his voice shaking but firm. "It's about Lily," the stranger replied, their tone grave. "You don't understand. You need to listen." Punch of panic struck him. Lily was watching this unfold from their table, her eyes wide and confused. He couldn't let this ruin their day. He couldn't let anything threaten her joy. "Not here," Jake shot back, glancing at Lily, who's shifting uncomfortably. "You need to tell me what's happening. Right now." The stranger nodded slightly, taking a step back. "Follow me. There are things you don't know. Things that could change everything." Jake's breath hitched in his throat. The stranger's words hung heavy in the air, laden with secrets he had kept buried for so long. Would he risk everything to find out the truth? As they moved deeper into the crowd, he glanced back to see Lily beneath the twinkling lights, her confidence slowly fading. Somehow he felt he was stepping between two worlds. But was he prepared for what lay beyond the veil of this stranger's revelations? What if everything he thought he knew shattered before his eyes? Jake followed the stranger into the pulsating heart of the festival. The music, usually joyful, felt distant now, a mere backdrop to the chaos swirling inside him. Every step seemed to echo the warning in his mind. "Protect Lily." "Where are we going?" he demanded, trying to keep his voice steady despite the growing clamor in his head. "I can't explain everything here," the stranger said, glancing around nervously. "They're watching. Just trust me." "Trust you?" Jake shot back, incredulous. "You show up out of nowhere, and I'm supposed to trust you?" The figure sighed, a sound heavy with burden. "You don't know what's at stake. I wouldn't ask if it weren't serious." They navigated the throngs of festival-goers until they ducked behind a food truck, the tantalizing scent of fried dough and tacos all around them. The noise dimmed slightly as the crowd moved away, and Jake felt a small measure of relief. "Now, tell me quickly," he urged, his eyes darting back to the picnic table where he had left Lily. "What do you want with her?" The stranger hesitated, their face clouded with an earnestness that made Jake's anger simmer down slightly. "She's in danger, Jake. And so are you. There are things I couldn't tell you before, things I thought I could protect you from." "Protect me? By stalking us at a festival?" Jake spat, feeling the heat rise in him again. "You've done a terrible job of it." "I know. But it was for your safety." The stranger's voice cracked. The weight of their confession made it hard for them to continue. "I thought you could live your life without all of this. I wanted you far from everything we left behind." Jake's heart raced. "What are you talking about?" "It's about your past, Jake. Your family, your lineage. There are forces at play that want to control both you and Lily. You can't keep hiding from it. I had to come back." Jake's breath hitched. "You know my family? What do you know?" Before the stranger could respond, a piercing scream erupted nearby. Jake twisted around, adrenaline spiking again. The festival lights dimmed, and shadows stretched ominously in the sudden chaos. People began to run, their laughter turning into frantic cries as confusion rippled through the crowd. "Lily!" he shouted, panic gripping him as he turned back to the stranger, fear taking over. "I have to get back to her." "Jake, wait!" the stranger called after him, but he didn't listen. He pushed through the crowd, his heart pounding louder than ever. "Lily!" he yelled, desperation clawing at his throat. He grasped for faces in the swirling mass of panic, his mind racing. What could possibly have caused such terror? Finally, he spotted her, a small figure near the edge of the festival, eyes wide and frightened, looking for him. She was alone in the thickening crowd, and his stomach dropped. He rushed toward her, a blur of motion, but as he approached, an imposing figure blocked his way. The stranger stood tall, looming over Lily, a malicious grin spreading across their face. "Jake!" Lily cried, taking a step back. Her innocent expression shifted to fear as the stranger advanced. "Get away from her!" Jake shouted, the urgency in his voice rising above the chaos surrounding them. "Jake, I told you it was serious," the figure said, glancing between the two of them, their demeanor shifting. "And now you'll have to decide just how far you'll go to protect her." Each heartbeat felt thunderous, and Jake knew in that moment he was on the brink of a choice that went far beyond anything he had ever imagined. Would he confront the past, or would he risk losing Lily forever? Would he be strong enough to face the truth? Jake's heart raced as he stepped forward, every instinct screaming at him to fight back, to protect Lily. The stranger's wicked grin chilled him deeper than the night air. "What do you want?" Jake demanded, trying to keep his voice steady. "You really don't understand, do you?" The stranger taunted, dark eyes flickering with amusement. "You think this is just a festival, just a moment of fun. It's so much bigger than that. Stop. Just leave her alone." Jake's voice quaked, filled with desperation. The frightened look on Lily's face twisted his gut. She didn't deserve this, none of this was her fault. The stranger seemed to shift, the banter replaced with a cold, menacing resolve. "It's not her I'm after. It's you, Jake. You have something that belongs to them, and they won't stop until they get it." Jake clenched his fists, fighting back the wave of helplessness. "What are you talking about? I don't have anything. Just let her go." Lily took another shaky step back, her wide eyes glued to both of them, uncertainty and fear radiating off her. She was terrified, and the sight cracked something deep within Jake. He had to be strong. He had to find a way to protect her, even if it meant facing whatever nightmare loomed ahead. "Jake," she whispered, barely audible above the chaos swirling around them. "Listen to me." The stranger interrupted, their tone urgent yet heated. "I wasn't lying when I said you're in danger. Your lineage is more than a bloodline. It's a key to power they need. If they can't control you, they'll take her instead." "No," Jake growled, taking a cautious step toward Lily, his breath coming in ragged bursts. "You won't touch her." The realization crashed over him at full force. This was about more than just him. Lily was part of this too, whether she knew it or not. The figure smirked. "You really think you can stop me? You have no idea the forces you're dealing with. They're already watching, always watching." Panic surged through him as he absorbed those words. What had his life become? A mere pawn in a game he hadn't even known was being played. But one thing was crystal clear: he couldn't let them win. "Just go," Jake shouted, and with a surge of adrenaline, he lunged forward, stepping between Lily and that ominous figure. "Do you really want to test your luck?" was the chilling reply, but Jake could see the glint of uncertainty flash in the stranger's eyes. A gamble, a tiny crack of doubt. "You may end up more hurt than you think." "Maybe, but I'd rather take that chance than allow you to hurt her," he spat. The crowd around them continued to surge, confusion swirling like a storm, muffled voices blending into one chaotic echo. He felt Lily's presence behind him, her breath, her warmth grounding him. She was worth every risk, every fear he harbored. "Then we have a problem, Jake," the stranger said, stepping closer. "Because if you think you can simply walk away from this, you're wrong." And just like that, Jake knew he had to make a choice. Could he truly fight against whatever darkness awaited him? The stranger's smirk hinted at threats beyond comprehension, and he felt the tremors of dread tightening around him. "Jake," Lily's voice was barely above a whisper, and he turned to see uncertainty etched across her face. "What are we going to do?" He looked back at the stranger, every muscle in his body taut and ready. "We're going to find out what this is really about." But deep inside, he felt the undeniable heaviness drop in his stomach. What if he couldn't protect her? What if facing the truth led to a fear so great it would tear them apart? He took a deep breath, resolved to protect what mattered most. The chaotic world around them faded, leaving only the certainty that a confrontation was inevitable. As the stranger took a step closer, Jake realized that sometimes you had to confront monsters head-on to reclaim light. But was he ready to face the shadows of his past? Jake felt a rush of emotions swirling inside him, battling for control. Fear, anger, and a fierce determination ignited his resolve. He had to safeguard Lily, Every instinct screamed that this was a moment he couldn't let slip by, a decision that could alter everything. "Get away from her," he shouted again, his voice slicing through the noise of the festival like a knife. Felt good standing up, taking a stance. But the stranger just chuckled, hands tucked casually into their pockets, eyes glimmering like they knew some secret that Jake did not. "Bravery does not make you invincible, Jake," the stranger said, tilting their heads slightly. "You may wish to protect her, but know this. They will come for you, and they won't hesitate to take her if that's what it takes." Rage bubbled within him. "You think I'd ever let that happen?" "I'll enough," the stranger interrupted, a wave of irritation passing over their face. "We can do this the easy way or the hard way. Either way, I suggest you prepare for what's to come." Lily shifted behind him, her breath shallow as she clung to his shirt. "Jake, what are they talking about? What do they want from you?" The worry in her voice hit him harder than he expected, twisting like a blade. He turned just enough to see her pale face. "I don't know, Lily, but I swear, I won't let them hurt you. Promise." With that vow hanging in the air, Jake squared his shoulders. "Whatever this is, bring it on. I'll face it, with or without you." The stranger's smile widened, revealing a glimpse of teeth that felt more predatory than friendly. "Bold. But you're still naive. The truth is that you can't run from destiny. Watch me," Jake shot back, his heart thundering against his chest. Just then, the crowd shifted slightly, and Jake caught glimpses of familiar faces scattered among the throng. Friends, acquaintances, all oblivious to the tension surrounding him. It was all too surreal, the laughter of the festival mingling with this dark, muffled confrontation. The stranger took a step back, eyes sweeping the crowd as if gauging the ongoing festivities. "You have until the festival ends to figure this out." After that they paused, letting the unspoken threat hang in the air. "I hope you're ready." As if feeling the weight of those words, the crowd momentarily exploded with cheers from nearby carnival rides. But for Jake, everything felt muted, surreal. He could hear his heartbeat echoing in his ears, his focus wrapping tightly around Lily and the stranger's warning that felt more like a curse. Then the stranger turned abruptly, fresh shadows darting behind them, but not before they whispered just low enough for only Jake to hear. "You think you can fight this alone? They will be watching." Fear pooled deep inside him, but he couldn't let it consume him. Lily deserved better. Jake shoved the growing panic aside as he grasped her hand, squeezing it tight. "Let us go. We need to talk, figure this out." "Okay," she said, her voice steadier than the look in her eyes. Together, they navigated through the festival, vibrant colors and laughter blending into a haze as they searched for a quieter place, somewhere they could breathe and plan. Yet uncertainty lingered like a shadow, wrapping tighter around them. "Jake," Lily said, a slight tremor in her voice, "what if facing them means facing something none of us can handle?" He stopped, his gaze fixing sternly on her. "Then we'll face it together. I won't let you fight this alone, no matter what comes our way." The resolve in her eyes sparked something in Jake, a flicker of hope amid the darkness gathering around them. But deep down, beneath the bravado, unease rooted itself in his bones that as they moved toward the quieter edge of the festival, his thoughts raced. What would they discover about his past? About the power the stranger had mentioned? With every step, the unknown loomed closer, and just as they reached a dimly lit area away from the crowd, Jake felt the overwhelming sense of being watched again, a shiver racing down his spine. They were out of the storm's eye, but the storm was far from over. Jake Lily's voice brought him back. "Do you think we can actually uncover the truth? Will it really help us?" He swallowed hard, more determined than ever, but the deep-rooted doubt tugged at him. "We have to try. There's no other choice." With a steadiness he didn't fully feel, he stepped into the shadows, ready to face whatever awaited them. But before he could take another step, a piercing scream rang out from the festival, halting him in his tracks. "What was that?" Lily gasped, eyes wide with fear. Jake turned sharply, adrenaline pulsing through his veins. They had not come this far to run now. But the real question echoed in his mind. Were they truly prepared for what lay ahead? Jake's heart raced as he scanned the faces of the festival goers, searching for the source of that scream. The vibrant lights that had once seemed so inviting now felt sinister, like a flash of danger in a party gone awry. "Stay close," he urged, instinctively positioning himself between Lily and the crowd. They both stood frozen for a moment, 1,000 questions swirling in the air around them. What if the stranger's words held weight? What if this was just the beginning of something bigger? Then, another scream erupted, cutting through the chatter and laughter. This one was closer. It sent a chill racing up his spine. He glanced down at Lily, trying to gauge her reaction, but she was already stepping forward, her eyes wide with concern. "Jake, we should see what's happening," she insisted, her voice steady and firm. "No, we need to stick to our plan," he countered, anxiety creeping in. "We can't lose focus on what's important." But desperation danced in her eyes, and in that moment, he knew they couldn't just turn away. The connection they shared, strengthened by the ties of love and friendship, compelled him to act. "Okay, but we'll be careful," he relented. Together, they began to weave through the thinning crowd, toward the chaotic epicenter where more people were gathering. The festival's spark and joy faded into a dull hum, as Jake prepared himself for anything as they approached. The crowd had formed a circle, several people gasping as they pointed. Heart pounding, Jake pulled Lily closer and pushed his way through the throng. When he finally reached the edge of the circle, his breath caught in his throat. In the center, a girl lay sprawled on the ground, her hands pressed to her face as tears streamed down her cheeks. A few nearby were cradling her head, urging her to breathe, while others simply watched, mouths agape. "What happened?" Jake asked one of the bystanders, feeling an urgency he couldn't shake. "She just collapsed," the young man replied, eyes darting nervously around. "I think she saw something terrifying." Fear prickled along Jake's skin. Was this connected to the stranger? The thoughts raced through his mind. From the corner of his eye, he caught movement, a flicker of shadow darting away from the scene and into the darker fringes of the festival. "Hold on," Jake said, adrenaline surging. Before he could think it through, he took off, determined to find out what was happening. "Jake, wait," Lily called out, panic rising in her voice. He could hear her footsteps close behind him, but his focus narrowed. He needed answers. He needed to know if the people he cared about were safe. Navigating through the dimly lit pathways, Jake shifted his gaze from side to side, his heart pounding like a drum. He finally spotted the shadow again, just ahead, a figure slipping behind a row of food stalls. "Stop!" he shouted, his voice cutting through the reverb of the festival noise. The figure hesitated, glancing back, and Jake seized the moment. "Who are you? What do you know?" But the stranger was quick, darting further into the shadows. Jake's instincts kicked in. He had to follow, had to uncover whatever truth lay within the depths of this eerie night. "Jake, please, don't." Lily's voice was a tight string of worry, but he was already moving, and her protests were left behind in the festival's raucous backdrop. Jogging forward, he felt the weight of the unknown bearing down on him. What if this was his destiny, fighting whatever darkness loomed ahead? As the pursuit grew more frantic, a sudden urge to protect Lily echoed in his mind. What if this was a trap? Just as he rounded the corner of the stalls, he collided into a metal cart, knocking over a few buckets of popcorn. The sound echoed through the lanes, splattering yellow butter everywhere. But he didn't care. He was closing in on the figure whose identity now felt more urgent, more significant. Then, as he reached out to grab the elusive shadow, everything fell silent. The laughter, the music, all cut off, as if the world was holding its breath. Breathless, Jake stood alone in the chaos of spilled popcorn and flickering lights, realizing this was just the prelude to something far more complicated. What if each step deeper into this unknown meant uncovering truths that were never meant to surface? "Jake!" Lily's voice pierced through the stillness, and he turned, his heart caught in a vice, knowing he hadn't just chased a shadow. He had stumbled into something far more dangerous. In the eerie silence that enveloped the festival, Jake's heart pounded like a drum. He took a deep breath, ready to confront whatever had been lurking in the shadows, not just for himself but for Lily. He turned back to meet her worried gaze, framed by the flickering lights dimming around them. "Lily, stay close," he urged, feeling her warmth reassuring him even when fear hung thick in the air. "I need you with me." Lily nodded, her little fingers clutching the hem of his shirt, and together, they moved cautiously toward the shadows. They approached the edge of the festival, where the noise of laughter faded into a distant murmur. Suddenly, a tremor of excitement coursed through Jake as he spotted the figure again this time, their face illuminated by the festival lights. Instead of the menace he expected, he saw a familiar desperation painted in the stranger's eyes. "I'm here to help," the figure breathed out, urgency lacing their words. "You both need to understand what's happening. Your lives depend on it." Jake's stomach clenched tight at the thought of this revelation. "What do you mean?" he demanded, anger simmering beneath his surface. "They're coming for you, Jake," the stranger replied, glancing over their shoulder as if expecting the dark forces to materialize at any moment. "I didn't want this life for you. I tried to shield you to keep you from falling into the trap of your bloodline." "What does that even mean?" Jake felt lost, the weight of his past pushing heavily on his shoulders. "It's not just a family legacy. It's power. Something dangerous." The figure took a step closer, urgency radiating off them. "You can harness it, but they want it for themselves, and they won't stop until they have it. You need to prepare." Before he could reply, the air shifted, and Jake felt a chill wash over him. The looming threat pressed in, seemingly materializing from the shadows. He pushed Lily behind him instinctively, determination pooling within him. "Run!" he shouted to the figure and Lily, but the stranger stood still. "You have to see this through." "No!" Jake roared. "Not without her. I won't let them take her." With Lily held protectively close, Jake rushed away from the encroaching danger, adrenaline surging through him and pounding in his heart. They followed winding paths back towards the festival's light, but the shadows flickered ominously behind them. There was a hollowness in Jake's chest as the music blared and laughter erupted around them, a stark contrast to the dark truth that seemed to creep closer with every heartbeat. This day had begun with ice cream and laughter, and now it felt like a twisted nightmare. "We need to find a way out of here," he murmured to Lily, who peered up at him, eyes wide and trusting. Suddenly, in an unpredictable moment of desperation, Jake reached for Lily's hand and sprinted toward the nearest thrill ride. An idea sparked, maybe hiding among the crowds and chaos would buy them time. As they burst toward the ride, he couldn't help but glance back at the shadows behind them. "Just hang on," he called out, propelling them toward the spinning roller coaster. It towered like a guardian against the dark clouds closing in, vibrant lights shining brightly along its track. But as they climbed aboard, ready to escape, a scream pierced the air, a chilling reminder that danger was never far behind. With every twist of the coaster climbing higher, Jake fought against the rising tide of fear. Would they escape the shadows overtaking their lives? He had to believe it was possible. He looked at Lily, her face a mix of pure fear and thrill, and knew he had to protect her at all costs. By the time the ride ended, they jumped off and stumbled into the chaos surrounding the festival once more. Heart racing, Jake realized there was no way to hide. They needed to confront the truth, no matter how treacherous the path ahead would be. "Let us find that stranger together. They know something, and we can't afford to run any longer," Jake said, determination swelling in his chest. Lily squeezed his hand tightly, her trusting eyes lighting a fire in him. "We can do this, right?" "Absolutely." He felt invincible with her beside him. The overwhelming fear faded slightly, replaced by a fierce resolve they would write their own story. As they moved through the festival, searching through the crowd, the weight of shadows persisted, but so did the light in their hearts. Jake knew their journey was far from over, but together, they would confront whatever awaited them. Every struggle would lead to a deeper bond, tighter than the chains trying to bind them. At that moment, under the vibrant lights and laughter of the festival atmosphere, Jake vowed to face the darkness. The truth was waiting, ready to unveil itself, and he would be damned if he didn't protect Lily, his heart, his strength, and his reason to fight. As they searched, Jake felt the pulse of destiny wrapping around them. He had lost so much but gained something extraordinary through this journey, a fierce love for his daughter, a fighting spirit ignited within. This was their moment, together rewriting the narrative that had aimed to bind them in fear. And as the festival lights glimmered above, Jake and Lily stepped back into the light, ready to embrace whatever lay ahead, stronger for all they had faced and for all they would overcome together. This was just the beginning, and they would write their own story, one of joy, courage, and a bond that could face any storm. Don't let the story end here. You need to subscribe now to capture every incredible moment of transformation coming your way. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, because your support makes a world of difference. Comment your reactions. How do you feel about their journey? Let us know. And share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to witness this amazing transformation. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share.